That's our eagle. We have a tree which we love. It's got an eagle's nest in it, and it's had it there for 13 years now. And they have their offspring every year, and we absolutely glory in the thought that they are there as part of this headland.
We came across Nobby Headland on a visit to the island 12 years ago when we came up to visit a son who was in the army in Townsville. And he insisted we come to the island, so we followed orders and we saw the beauty and the individuality. It was unlike any other place we'd visited.
We fell in love with it because it was just such a beautiful island. It's an island which we hadn't experienced before. It wasn't like a resort island. It was just a very special island, a community, freehold title, with most beautiful views. Unaffected by people living on it, and there's so many beautiful spots which are totally unaffected. Bays which you can go down and there are hardly anybody there. The vegetation is superb. The views are just sensational. It's just a lovely, lovely island. Both of us, Judy and I, were just in raptures about how beautiful it was, just the natural beauty, the unbelievable rock formations on the beaches, and just a general feeling of tranquility that you got, a most unusual feeling.
The other thing that attracted us was the fact that it's a real community. It's not just a resort type island. There are people here living everyday lives, and they have a great community spirit and a very friendly place. And it's a nice feeling. It's like the old-fashioned country town feel.
Basically, we thought we'd live here because there was a few little cottages, pretty run down, but nevertheless we thought we might renovate one or two and live in at least one of them. It was just what we wanted on the waterfront, walking distance to the beach. Everything was correct about it. You can see this boat going past, which is just what people do on this island. They go past and they chug along and they do a bit of fishing off the reef, which is just here, and they can swim in here in the suitable times. We've got this massive rock here, which is quite extraordinary. It goes down to a sort of funny shaped shoe-like rock here, which is concludes the beach, if you like, and there's another little beach the other side which you can get to in low tide as well. So the overall thing is very picturesque, and we absolutely love it, and I think other people do love it as well. We know the island people love it, and I'm sure people from all over will do the same. We decided to develop because we were worried that if we didn't, and we were getting on in years, it might have been taken over by somebody if we decided to sell it, who would be insensitive to what the headland required, and that is preservation, because the rating by the council then was tourist development, which means you could have put a hotel or a water slide or anything else on it, which I don't think Judy particularly wanted. Is that correct, Judy?
Absolutely.
And so we decided we had to develop it rather than see it destroyed by bad development.
I've never seen a project like this before. I've never seen developers with this sort of sense of concern for the place. As most people will know, generally speaking, it's quite the contrary. The site is just absolutely magnificent in every sense, in terms of its position, in terms of its aspect, and as I said, its flora and fauna, the geology of the site. And to be able to produce buildings which invite that in every minute of every day is just a very, very rare opportunity. And to live in those buildings, I think, as well, again, a very rare opportunity.
I think the important thing is that there are strict covenants to make sure that the environment of the headland is not sacrificed to bad buildings. So we've got covenants. No McMansions, no big white or pink houses which shine out to people from down below or on the water. So what we basically want is something which is environmentally friendly, which fits in amongst the rocks and vegetation and is submerged so that you can probably not see them at all. Now, this is an example of a high block of land. We call it Pinnacle 1. There's other high blocks as well. This is a good example of how creative nature has made a block of land for buildings, and for an architect designer, a marvellous house around the trees, which you can see here, and the rocks. And in between you've got flat land which you can build on, as well as the rock we're standing on now, which you can build on, and the rock back there you can build on. Through here you've got these marvellous rock formations where you can actually open the house to the rock formations and get this architectural, this sculptural feeling that is the island. And it also opens to lovely views there and magnificent views over here as well. And I think you can see the jetty down there and the ferry going across. We'll show you on top of this big rock now, because that gives you a vision of the whole block of land. And we've got others which are quite similar to this. This is another aspect of this particular block of land, Pinnacle 1. It shows you the broad expanse of views over the water, right the way back to Townsville. And it also shows the north up here, which is very pretty. It's a valley which continues up, and it's one of the nice views as well.
I think, generally speaking, as a community here in particular, we get very concerned with things like slope and with rocks and what have you. There's no need to be concerned at all. Tropical architects have a great history of building on incredibly difficult sites. But when I say difficult, it's only relatively difficult, and the price you pay for building on those sites is paid back many times over in the outcome of the building, I suppose you could say. Now, we've found that a standard footing for a pole-framed house on flat land costs, say, $140. A footing where you drill 4 bolts into a granite boulder and initiate the building process that way costs about $140. So there's really no cost differential between those two types of footing. The designs that we've produced are framed buildings. They're steel frame, generally speaking, with infill panels. Now, the construction process for these is to put the footings down, which, as I've said, is a relatively easy process. It doesn't make too much difference whether it's a flat or a hilly site. And to get the framework up to floor level and build a floor. As soon as that floor platform's in place, the job has very little difference to any other job that you're doing, because you're simply working off the floor.
Although it's a rocky island, that's one of its chief benefits, in that rock is marvellous to build on, because we could attach ourselves to the rock, which is probably the best way of attaching to anything, in that you only need to put 4 holes and a post and rise it up to the right degree. Instance, this deck we've got here, which is built on rock, as you can see around here. We put this here for the community. This is on a community area which goes right the way up here as well. And it means that people can come down after having bought a block of land and see the sunset here and have a really delightful time, because it is so extremely beautiful with the beach here and the sunset falling down here. And we've utilised a bit of less attractive ground to put a very substantial deck up, which could be the floor of a house, for instance. It's a fascinating way of doing things, and it's not a usual way of doing things because there's not that much rock in a lot of places, but it is by far the best way of doing things because it's so solid and it has such a marvellous foundation. And it's also extremely attractive to build amongst the rocks. And in some cases you build a house with rocks inside, which is a fascinating thing, and there's a few houses on the island which have done exactly that. And it's very creative. It's a marvellous thing to do, and it's an architect's dream, I suppose. I hope to see some houses that are built appropriately and for people to be extremely happy in what is being done, people from the community as well as people who live here. And I think that'll happen courtesy of the covenants and the fact that we are going to live here ourselves, and we'll make sure that all the right things are done. Basically just a happy community which is marching ahead so that when it's fully developed in a number of years, it'll be a treasure for the future.
And it's important for us that the entire community is happy with what we're doing as well. That's a really good feeling, because so far we've achieved that.
Tony and Judy Finlay, as I said, they're exceptional as clients. We've never been given the opportunity that we've been given in this instance. I think where they are exceptional is that you very often, in fact most people who walk through the door have the same aspiration at the start, or they state the same aspiration. Tony and Judy don't make excuses for themselves, and that's, I think, the fundamental difference between Tony and Judy and any other developer that I've worked with in the past. That because something gets hard, you don't make an excuse to try to make it easy, you simply get on and keep going and do the right thing.
It is our island home. In fact, it's our spiritual home. We come back onto the island every time and just, it's just, why do we ever leave?
I might say we've got a house in Noosa, and we just love this more than Noosa, and it's just a very special place. You just can't find it anywhere else.
And our children are very upset because they feel they've lost us. Mum and Dad have gone troppo.